Well, hello, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other dimensional entities and all sentient beings right across the cosmos. My greetings go out to you. It's the 4th of August 2025, Monday, and the time is 1:06 p.m. I'm slightly better than I have been. It's day 8 of this illness. I'm a bit out of breath, but I managed to summon up the motivation and the energy to clean both the birdie boys' cages. Yes, you've got a clean cage. No more poopykins splattered all over it. I'll fix that in a minute, Mama T. I'm sure you will, little boy. But anyway, it wasn't too difficult. I had to just take it a bit slowly and sit down in between. And I'm watching a wonderful podcaster I'm really enjoying on the UFO subjects or subjects of high strangeness. Polarity Josh, fellow Aussie, apparently he lives and operates out of Adelaide, so to you, Josh, not that he sees my videos, I'm just giving him a shout out though, because Aussie, oi, 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 we've got to represent each other, support each other, am I right? Where we can, and especially if we have similar belief systems and we're in similar alignments on where our planet's going and what's going on, what we can glean as to what's going on anyway, because some things we may never actually find out. Some things we'll just have to work out on our own. But anyway, I'm catching my breath and I'm handling my own shit and I'm living my best life, and it's a beautiful day out here today. It's very warm. I put the birdies out before I started working on their cages because it was such a gorgeous morning, and then it sort of went a bit overcast and I worried about them, but the sun's peeping out, and I think they enjoy being out in the garden. I really do. So let us continue reading Lorne Campbell and Peter Edwards' Satan's Choice. And we're up to chapter 6. Oh, that's not going to stay, is it? I'll just leave it. I'll pop that there. We're up to chapter 6. Today's chapter is titled Turf. In my heart, I knew I was dying. Lorne Campbell, after he is shot. Campbell added a tattoo to his left forearm with the letters FTW, which could alternately be translated as fuck the world, fight the world, and fight to win. Smushy, smushy, smushy. All interpretations were correct in Campbell's world. The biker violence of the 60s and 70s was almost always about turf rather than profits, and largely reflexive, reactive, ultra harsh, and utterly pointless to anyone but another biker. Indeed. This is why the aliens keep flying by and waving goodbye. Don't go to that planet. They're all feckin' idiots. And the ones who land here, I think, only land here by accident because something happens to their ships and they get all the way across the galaxy and then they crash here. It's like, how is that even logical, or for that matter, fair? Why is it Earth that brings them down? Why? Why? Delilah. Wow. Some of us are stuck here, and by the gods. Let me just think about that a little bit. Take my glasses off, hold onto my nose. Just going to think about that. Is this really a Gnostic prison planet? Dunno. Because there's lovely things that happen here too. Lovely things like Kermie and Bo strutting their stuff. All the wild birds that come to visit us. The grass keeps growing, whether the life is shitty or not. And there's lovely things. Let's try and focus on the lovely things. It's a bit hard when you're reading a book about mad bikers with turf wars prepared to kill each other over a little bit of a patch. Jesus H. Christ, another entity I don't believe in, but anyway. It's all a bit weird, people of Earth. It's all a bit weird. Hey, I wore these yesterday, but I want to call attention to them. I made these. Well, I didn't make the shell. God made those. Is there a God? Semantics. Nature made it. God and nature and the mummy and daddy of whoever the snail was that lived inside the shell made the shell. And then I harvested it and polished it and turned it into pretty earrings. Because you gotta make things happen, people of Earth. You gotta make things happen in a far out way. And I made sterling silver findings to go with it, because everything I make finding wise now is in sterling silver, because I'm done making things out of costume jewellery that rots and turns to shit and you have to throw out at the end. At least sterling silver can be melted back down and turned into something else. Recycling, people of Earth. Use precious metals so you can recycle and remake, or at least, if you don't want to make anything else out of it ever again, sell it to the refiners and get some money back for it. I threw out so much costume jewellery of my mother's because she had a market store for many years of Downton rubbish jewellery. It was just all rotten. It was all rotten when I finally, came into possession of it. It's a waste of money and time and storage and effort. By the gods. But anyway, little Bo's yawning. You yawning, little Bo? Are you a bit sleepy? Are you tired, Birdie? Right, where were we? Turf wars. One day Campbell heard that the choice had been permanently cut off from being served at the Plaza Hotel Tavern. It was the nicer of two drinking holes in Coburg, the other being the British, and Campbell wasn't about to have the club's drinking options limited. He also wasn't keen on being told where he was and was not welcome. He turned to a biker called Fat Frog, not to be confused with Bernie Guindon, the number one frog, or Guindon's cousin from Quebec, the bullfrog. Go over to the plaza and open the door, Campbell said. Fat Frog did as he was asked, and Campbell rode through the door on his growling 1948 panhead chopper. He weaved around the tables before gliding to a halt in front of the bar. "Give me a rye," Campbell ordered. The bartender gave him a rye. "Are we cut off here?" "No." "I know you cut our guys off. Are we cut off now?" "No." Campbell downed his rye. The other plaza patrons kept chugging their draft as if this were somehow normal. Who knows if they were afraid? "Fatty, open the door again," Campbell said. Fat Frog opened the door again as Campbell revved up his chopper. "See you later," Campbell called, and cruised out of the plaza into the pouring rain in a scene worthy of Lee Marvin himself. Much of the biker fighting wasn't of the one-on-one fair contest variety. When Campbell was faced with a threatening group, he reasoned that it generally made sense for him to attack the biggest enemy first. A quick, brutal knockdown tended to calm down smaller would-be tough guys. That was the guiding principle late one night on Thixon Road on the Oshawa-Whitby town line, when Campbell and another choice member overheard what they took to be disparaging comments about them from inside a car while stopped at a gas station. Campbell and his friend were wearing their club colours, so group honour was at stake, and playing deaf wasn't an option. "What did you say?" Campbell shouted. "Get the fuck out of the car." There were 6 men in the car, and they all got out. They clearly weren't intimidated by the 2 bikers. Campbell pasted one of the bigger men with a boot to the groin that would have done a Canadian Football League kicker proud. The pointed toe of his cowboy boot focused the kick and made it all the more nauseating at the receiving end. The man appeared out on his feet when the cops arrived and ordered Campbell and his buddy to get lost. Campbell met the recipient of his right foot a couple of months later at a party. It was far more pleasant than their first encounter, until the man preferred a baffling comment. "If it had been just me, I'd have punched you out." "Bill, don't say anything more," Campbell said. "If it had been just me, I'd have punched you out." It was a decidedly odd comment, and Campbell wasn't about to waste time and brain power deciphering it. Instead, he replied with a left hook that sent Bill down hard between the fridge and the counter. On the counter sat a huge man who packed considerable muscle and girth onto what Campbell guessed was about a 6'4" frame. This Goliath couldn't help but gawk at the violence a few feet away. "You got a problem with this?" Campbell shouted. The Goliath didn't reply fast enough, and Campbell let loose his best shot. The big man was unable to block it, and Campbell's knuckles collided squarely with his head. But he didn't go down. He didn't even appear to flinch. "He grabbed me, and like a rag doll, he threw me down," Campbell says. Then he cocked a mammoth fist directly over Campbell's head. There was just enough time for Campbell to think of the damage that fist could cause to his cranium like a sledgehammer on a coconut. Once the Goliath was sure he had made his point, he calmly lowered his fist and returned to the party. What's today? Monday. Throughout the altercation, the big man had looked bewildered, not angry. You talk about grateful, Campbell says. Big violence frequently bubbled up from little things in the outlaw biker world. Infringements on their turf and real and perceived slights against the honour or security of them and their clubmates often served as detonators. Bikers sometimes didn't have much beyond their Harleys and an exaggerated sense of honour, so they guarded those things with their lives. That's the way it was when Campbell heard that Jimmy Brockman, a former Golden Hawk who was no longer in a club, had threatened a choice member named Pete. Campbell couldn't just leave that threat against a clubmate hanging in the air. He needed to take Brockman aside and tell him that such talk simply wasn't acceptable. Campbell had just downed a mouthful of beer at the Royal Hotel in Whitby when Jimmy Brockman walked by. A comic named Kangaroo was due to perform that night, and Campbell had been looking forward to the start of his show. Now he'd have to miss at least some of the comedy. "Jimmy, I want to talk to you outside." Brockman stepped outside where Campbell asked, Just what were you doing at Pete's?" Campbell hadn't taken a hard look into Brockman's eyes and didn't yet realise that he was revved up on speed. Campbell also didn't know that Brockman was sitting that night on a stash of pills that would be worth a considerable amount on the street. Campbell also didn't know. I read that, sorry. Campbell did understand that he was dealing with a dangerous man. Brockman was too slow to answer. Campbell recalls, "He never got more than 2 words out and I hit him. He went down." Brockman barely touched the pavement before he bounced up with a gun in his hands. Now Campbell was the one caught off guard. "You never know what you'll do when a gun's pointed at you," Campbell says. Brockman pulled the trigger from point-blank range. The first one went through my arm. The next 2 went by. I knew he had a 6-shooter and that he had 3 left. It was the perfect time to sweat and panic and beg for the chance to go on living. Very different feeling overtook Campbell as he faced the gun with its 3 remaining bullets. The sensation surprised him. There was such a calmness I couldn't believe. I said, "Finish it now, because I'm going to come after you." In my heart, I knew I was dying. I was sure he was going to shoot again. In that moment of kill or be killed, Campbell didn't feel any hatred towards the man firing at him. just an odd, hard to define sense of regret. Too bad that happened, because I liked him. Jimmy Brockman didn't want to be a killer that night. Perhaps he too had gone into the Royal relaxed and eager for an evening of comedy. Brockman had never hated Campbell. And now he was a finger squeeze away from ending Campbell's life. Excuse me. In that instant, when he literally held the power of life and death in his hands, Brockman did something totally unexpected. He threw down the gun and ran away. Campbell's bullet wound was treated by the mother of a club member who also happened to be a nurse, which saved him from going to hospital where the injury would have been reported to police. Still, it's hard to keep a shooting in the downtown parking lot quiet, and so it wasn't long before a cop appeared at Campbell's door. It was the same cop who had had so much trouble with his nerves while arresting Campbell after he burned down the family home. The police officer appeared to have gained a little confidence since their last meeting. He asked Campbell about his wounded arm. "I fell on a nail against a wall. Expect me back to arrest you? Don't bother, because I fell against a nail. That's all you'll get." Not long after that, Campbell was pulled over by RCMP officers. That would be Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They too asked who shot him, and Campbell also told them that he hadn't been shot. Then, according to Campbell, a Mountie said something chilling. "You know what? If you keep this up, we can shoot you." "Well, you had better be faster than me." The cop continued, noting that other bikers would be suspected if Campbell's life ended with a fresh bullet in him. But again, they didn't arrest him. With the police out of the way, at least for the time being, Campbell set out on the hunt for Jimmy Brockman to settle their unfinished business. He was confident that he was now the hunter and not the hunted. At the risk of sounding like a braggart, I figure if I'm packing and there's a threat, let's get it on. I had no fear. Campbell was taking a break from the hunt early one morning with his choice friend, Rick Smith, better known in biker circles as Smutley, pronounced Schmutley. I wish I'd read that before, that's why I'm laughing. Just a few seconds ahead and I would have had it right, people of Earth. In an Oshawa booze can owned by a man called Jules. Booze cans are the watering holes of the biker world, the cool shores to which everyone, hunters and hunted alike, is drawn to refresh themselves. It was at Jules's booze can, between sips of beer, that Campbell finally laid eyes on Brockman sitting on a couch. It was just luck and perhaps no small measure of stupidity on Brockman's part that brought them back together. Brockman had been living out of his car with a machine gun on his lap, fearing the day when Campbell would finally call out his name again. That night, in the booze can, Campbell went after Brockman with his fists, not his pistol. I pounded on him. I heard click, click. Jules had a shotgun. Campbell didn't nourish false hope that Jules was on his side, since the shotgun was clearly pointed in his direction. Schmutley wasn't packing a gun, and the best he could muster was a large ketchup bottle. But he brandished it mightily, like a club. At least it was glass and not plastic, but few lunatics would consider it a deterrent against a loaded shotgun. I started to laugh, Campbell remembers. I said, "Just what are you doing? It's a 12-gauge shotgun. You going to run up with a ketchup bottle?" Brockman saw the humour too, and also started to laugh. The mood for murder and revenge was irreparably broken. The shotgun and ketchup bottle were lowered, and they all returned to their drinks. Decades later, Campbell still cherishes the story of how Schmutley tried... every time I read that, I just have to laugh. Sorry, let me repeat that sentence. Decades later, Campbell still cherishes the story of how Schmutley tried to come to his rescue with a ketchup bottle. He doesn't expect many from outside his world to find it amusing, but it's hilarious to him, indeed. I realised to other people who didn't have that life, that's not funny. No, it's bloody hilarious. Like, I get it. I totally get it. It's like that song by Lou Reed. Hit me with a flower, hit me every hour. Oh baby, you're so, what is it? Precious or something. It's just drifted out of my head again. Anyway. Campbell didn't hold a grudge against Jimmy Brockman for shooting him. At the time he put the bullet in Campbell, Jimmy was stoned and figured Campbell was trying to rip off his stash of speed. In their world, that was a reasonable fear. In his mind, I'm ripping him off. I liked Jimmy. I would have done the same thing, only I would have pulled the trigger again. I wouldn't have thrown away the gun. There you go. Honesty amongst crims. Life was too short to take such murder attempts or beatings personally. It wasn't as if Brockman harboured some particular ill will against Campbell. He had shot people before me, and he shot people after me. Look, little Bo, you need to eat your fruit and vegetables. I made it special. I made it a proper chopped up for you, and you still look at it with disdain. You're like, how are you going to grow up to be a giant eagle if you don't eat your vegetables? He says, that's not how it works, Mama T. No, you'll never be an eagle, my boy. You're just going to be an undernourished, yellow-headed, peach-faced, orange-faced, grey and white, stool pigeon of a cockatiel who won't eat his fucking vegetables. I've tried everything. Everything, man. I even put seeds in it this morning, his favourite seeds. Little bastard picked them out. So he's had a go. Come on. Oh, how is that cracked open and broken? Bloody plastic shit. Oh, well, there you go. I didn't even know your bowl was cracked. How did that happen? Did you do that? Eh? Mama's little fluffy bum was perfectly fine this morning. Oh, you're a weird little birdie. Do you know that you're a weird little birdie? He says, don't worry, Mama. I know you got stainless steel bowls. That cage was $400 and they supplied shitty plastic bowls with it and a shitty plastic tray to catch the poops. I'm actually a bit annoyed about that because it wasn't cheap, you know what I mean? It's like, give you shit quality accoutrements with it. Anyway, are we going to worry about that, Mr. Bo? He says, yes, Mama. When are those thieving bastards going to give you back your money, Mama T? Dunno. Probably be lucky to ever see it again. Fuck you, Audible and Commonwealth Bank, you thieving dogs. And the person that somehow accessed my... How did they even get my card number? How did they get my card number? That's what I want to know. Alright, well anyway, I gotta just let it go. It's a lot of money to lose for me though. A lot. Holy shit. I've been needing to buy more silver. I could have bought $350 worth of silver instead of some thief making off with it to stick it up their fucking nose. I hope they OD, dirty bastards. Those kind of thieves are only stealing to feed their drug habit. I hope you OD, you evil fucking cunt of a thing out there. No, I have no mercy for you. None. You don't steal from other people who are poor. Have some couth. Jesus. If you're gonna steal, not that I approve of stealing ever, but if you were gonna be a thief, fucking hit up the big boys. No. They get to rob us all blind, and then the petty fucking snivelling shit lily livered streaks of yellow piss steal from other poor people. Straight out of District 9, isn't it? Stealing from the poor. It's outrageous. Anyway, sometimes you just gotta laugh. I'm not there yet. It's not funny. Right, my little baby boy, my sweet little baby boy, my little darling. Bo, Bo. Kermie. Yes, Kermie's a good boy too. Right, where was I? Life is too short to take such murder attempts or beatings personally. It wasn't as if, oh yeah, we read that part. He had shot people before me and he shot people after me. Things remained that way on a friendly live and let live basis until some years later when someone killed Jimmy Brockman with an axe. Well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Sooner or later, someone will come and get you. One night, all Campbell wanted to do was work himself through a hangover on a downstairs bedroom of the Oshawa clubhouse. This wasn't so easily accomplished, as a childhood friend named John had pounded on his bedroom door several times earlier that night, rudely interrupting his sleep. When there was yet another knock at his door, Campbell's bleary eyes settled on the .22 semi-automatic rifle he kept by his bed. "Get the fuck out." Knock, knock, knock. "How many times do I have to tell you to leave me alone?" Knock, knock, knock. Campbell emptied a clip into the door and the pounding stopped. He had no clue it was Peter Rabbit Pillman at the door, along with one of Campbell's long-time friends. He didn't really object too much when the club fined him $500 for pumping 11 bullets in the direction of his president, but he wasn't happy either. "I didn't think it was fair because I didn't shoot anybody, but I did shoot the door right between them. You've got to accept what you've got to accept." Campbell was alone in the Oshawa clubhouse another night when his old friend Larry Beaver Hurren and another member named Randy came home late one night with two women they had met in a bar. Members all had keys to the clubhouse, but they had both forgotten theirs. There was also a way for members to sneak in, and that was their means of entry that night. By the time they were on the stairs, Campbell heard them. Campbell didn't ask the intruders on the stairs to identify themselves before he fired a shotgun in their direction. All four of them ran upstairs, Campbell recalls. "Who's up there?" Campbell demanded. "It's Larry." Once satisfied that they weren't thieves or invaders, Campbell invited them down for a drink to show there was no hard feelings on his side. They wouldn't budge or socialise with him. This time, Campbell wasn't fined because chapter members ruled that Hurren and Randy should have brought a key. "They should have woken me up first. I was pretty security conscious." That sounds like cockatoos, little boat. We very rarely get cockatoos fly through here. Where have they gone? Where'd the cockies go? They're in the tree opposite. Wow, it's a long time since I've seen cockatoos here. Tough as he was in a fight, sounds like they're fighting the crows too. Tough as he was in a fight, Campbell didn't have a particularly strong stomach. His friend Larry Valentine from the Toronto Choice was even more queasy. That said, they were both holding up well. At an all-Canadian run in the late 1970s in Thunder Bay, which brought together members of the Choice, the Vagabonds of downtown Toronto, Los Bravos of Winnipeg, and the Grim Reapers of Alberta. They mixed together and sampled a concoction of Yellow Jackets, Black Beauties, Bennies, LSD, whiskey, rum, and vodka. Doesn't sound like a good mix, but wow, not my monkey, not my circus, babies. It was called simply concoction and was set out in a punch bowl and jugs with the warning, "Don't drink this unless you're ready for it." Holy shit, man. There was a live rock band playing in a field, and Campbell and Valentine were the function's shuttle service. driving attendees out to the bandstand in a souped-up Oldsmobile. They attacked their duties with ferocity, hitting speeds that felt like 100 miles per hour and crafting dramatic stops worthy of a Hollywood stunt driver. Somewhere along the line, they managed to tear off 2 of the Oldsmobile's doors and back over a new Harley which had been driven only once. The Harley's owner was a good sport, letting his insurance company handle the damages, while riders in the shuttle service seemed overjoyed just to step out of the vehicle alive. Larry is a very good driver. People were freaking out. Part of the biker's shtick for freaking people out was to kiss each other on the lips in plain view of others. So it wasn't a shock when Valentine turned to bite. That's true, by the way. So it wasn't a shock when Valentine turned to Campbell and said, "Give me a little kiss." It was a shock, however, when Campbell felt something live crawl into his mouth at the culmination of their smooch. He had a live field mouse in his mouth and spit it into my mouth. I started throwing up. It ruined my day. My whole evening I couldn't stop barfing. Potent as the concoction was, there was likely no drink anywhere that would have been strong enough to wash the taste of rodent from Campbell's mouth. A girl at the party kept asking him, "Why are you sick?" Answering her question only threatened to make him relive the experience and become sick again, but she wouldn't back off. Finally, Campbell recalls, he replied, "He shoved a mouse in my mouth and it's still stuck in my fucking mouth. Now she's getting sick." Campbell had noticed that Valentine was queasy whenever he was round a regular called No Face in a bar they frequented. No Face got his name from the day he tried to commit suicide with a .306. Through good fortune or bad shooting, he missed his brain but blew off much of his face, including his nose. No Face got his life back on track, and now Campbell saw him arrive at the get-together in party mode. He's all dressed up. He's sporting a fedora but no jaw, 2 holes for a nose. Campbell was chatting with some vagabonds when he saw Valentine crawling out of a tent with a titanic hangover. I'm talking about Larry being upset by seeing No Face. "I know Larry's approaching," I said. Then Larry turned around and gave him, No Face, a French kiss right on the lips. Larry just started puking. What a good party that was. Right, we're 43 minutes in, it's a short one. Oh hell, the next one's only a few pages long. It's just, I'm struggling a bit after cleaning the cage. I'm a bit fucking weary. Yeah, the next few are very short. Alright, maybe one more. Chapter 7, Biker Chick Magnets. I heard a guy blindfolded his girl, a dancer, every night when he took her home. I asked him why he does it. He says, "Yeah, I don't want her to know where I live." Like it was normal. Lord Campbell. Boy Scouts get merit patches for knot tying, semaphore and other crafts. At one field day, the Satan's Choice awarded Campbell a patch on his club vest for performing cunnilingus on a menstruating woman, a red wing patch, and another for having sex with a woman with a sexually transmitted disease, green wings. Campbell scored a biker's daily double of sorts that day, getting both his patches from contact with the same woman at the same party. Yuck. To make it official, the event had to be witnessed by a club member, much like the Guinness Book of Records needs an official spotter before recording an achievement in its books. With that accomplished, Campbell declined to go further in his patch earning and didn't seek purple wings for sex with a dead person. Not that there was a corpse available anyway. The other ones are just too weird for me. I never saw anybody wear a purple patch. Nobody in Canada ever did. There was a white patch for sex with a virgin. I never saw that either. When it came to their treatment of women, Campbell was actually disgusted at the conduct of some club mates back in the 1960s and 1970s. He remains troubled by the memory of how young girls would show up at biker clubhouses as if expecting some sort of protection. They really are that naive, by the way. If a girl looked too young, Campbell says he would give her a stern, fatherly lecture. I've sent many underage girls home in cabs. Plenty of women willingly arrived at biker clubhouses, eager to party with the bad boys. One of the wilder biker parties of the 1970s was in the apartment of an Oshawa woman who had a framed 8x10 photo of her father on top of the television in the living room. What made the photo stand out was that her father was wearing a police uniform. It wasn't until later, when evidence was revealed at a biker trial, that Campbell learned that the orgy had been electronically recorded by police and that the officers who listened in on the bacchanal included the woman's father. It might break another man to listen to his daughter in mid-orgy with a biker gang while flanked by his peers. However, the father in the picture that watched down from his daughter's television was nothing if not zealous, and he rose high in policing after the incident. They, police, call us sick. What would the other cops think? And we're the bad guys. Holy cow. Think moral. To bug your daughter. That's mind-boggling. Did his wife know? There's 1,000 questions there. As Campbell sees it, much of the tension between police and bikers came from jealousy. We've been with the nicest broads, we've partied heartier, and these cops sit there for days in surveillance, just watching. Campbell had an extremely low sperm count because of a case of mumps he contracted as a child, which made him doubt several claims that he made women pregnant in these late-night romps. I've had 4 or 5 girls blame me for being the father. I just smiled at them. There were other stories about women that he didn't doubt, although they made his head spin nonetheless. I heard a guy blindfolded his girl, a dancer, every night when he took her home. I asked him why he does it. He says, yeah, I don't want her to know where I live. Like it was normal. One good spot for bikers to meet women was the bar of the Genosha Hotel in King Street East in Oshawa's downtown core. In Marvel Comics, Genosha was a make-believe land populated by mutants that devolved into a full-fledged disaster zone. In Campbell's day, the real-life Genosha wasn't much different, hadn't always been this way. The Genosha was conceived as an impressive place to house visiting auto executives and salespeople, and its name was a combination of General Motors and Oshawa. Opened in 1929, it never rebounded after the stock market collapsed later that year. Rescued from bankruptcy in the Great Depression by local notables, it was still grand enough that Queen Elizabeth, the consort of George VI, stayed there for a night in 1939. Over time, however, furnishings were stripped and the once stately Chicago-style Art Deco influenced hotel was converted into a rooming house, while the basement became a low-end strip club. The Genosha had been a rock-bottom dive for quite some time when Campbell and his friend Schmutley arrived for a drink one afternoon in the late 1970s and overheard two men at a neighbouring table boasting that they were members of the Satan's Choice. It was clearly a ruse designed to impress a pair of nearby women. Worse yet, it appeared to be working, as if the imposters were writing a cheque on funds that weren't even theirs. The Broads are going to go with them, Campbell recalls. They're getting lucky. Schmutley wanted to hit them right off the bat. We didn't have colours on, so they didn't know we were with the club. I said, your choice? The guy answered, yeah. I hit him in the face and Schmutley hit the other guy. I had had enough. The fight was over before it began, as were the men's hopes of afternoon romance. What you see, little boy? Well, it's not the tawny frogmouths, because they're not there today. Well, what are you losing your feathery poopykins over? Getting all activated. Mama's going to go in when she finishes these stories. She's going to make chocolate brownies. Got a craving for chocolate brownies again. I shouldn't really get into a habit of making those because I've got no willpower and no discipline, and I eat them within 2 days. By the gods. But anyway. Of all the women in the bikers' party sphere, one particularly stood out. She was of elvish stature, standing barely over 5 feet and weighing a little over 100 pounds. She was Schmutley's girlfriend, and she was fiercely possessive of him, even though she was anything but exclusive. Her name was Daryl Noreen Newstead, and she loved having the same first name, albeit with a different spelling, as hockey star and Toronto Maple Leafs captain Daryl Sittler. Daryl would sometimes find other women for group sex with Campbell and Schmutley. Despite the adventuresome sex, Schmutley eventually grew tired of Daryl and dumped her. On the rebound, she travelled to northern Ontario and hooked up with a man named Daryl Gerald Dolan, who at 28 was 3 years older than her. It was never clear to Campbell if Dolan's first name was part of the attraction. Whatever the case, Daryl soon headed south to avenge what she considered Schmutley's insult to her honour. Around 4 in the morning of November 18th, 1978, Ontario Provincial Police Constable Philip Duffield noticed only one headlight shining from a maroon Datsun station wagon on Highway 17 near the hamlet of Thessalon, between the northern Ontario cities of Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie. He called the car's licence number into his police radio and was informed that the Datsun was stolen. Duffield, who had been a cop for only 14 months, pulled it over on a dark, lonely stretch of road. Then he did that most frightening thing for a police officer working alone at night. He walked up to the driver's side, shone his flashlight inside, and asked the stranger inside to get out. "Yeah," the male driver replied, and opened the door slightly, just wide enough for the barrel of a shotgun. The first blast caught Duffield in the left arm, while the second somehow missed him altogether. Duffield was able to squeeze off a shot from his service revolver before he radioed in to his dispatcher that he had been hit. The Datsun's driver fled north off Highway 17 onto side roads, eventually pulling up at a well-lit one-storey home. It belonged to the Kehoes, a retired couple brimming with small-town goodwill, who never hesitated to open their door to anyone in need. Newstead certainly wouldn't have looked threatening, as she told 58-year-old Phyllis Kehoe. "There's an accident a bit down the road. There's a policeman being shot." Phyllis Kehoe later recalled that she felt she wasn't dressed properly when she answered the door. Her mood shifted from hospitable and concerned to terrified when she saw the shotgun. She fled to their bedroom. Shotgun pellets ripped through the bedroom door, wounding her and knocking her 63-year-old husband, Robert, to the floor. Dolan and Newstead tied Phyllis and Robert Kehoe together. When they saw that the couple's grandchildren, a 13-year-old boy and 14-year-old girl, were also in the home, they bound them together with their grandparents. Then they cut the phone cable and escaped in the Kehoe's truck. The grandson freed himself and ran more than a mile to their closest neighbours. It was around this time that Dolan and Newstead were pulled over at a nearby OPP roadblock and arrested. By that time, Robert Kehoe was dead. Newspapers quickly dubbed Newstead and Dolan Canada's Bonnie and Clyde. They dug up information on them which was far more sad than glamorous. Dolan had lived in 52 foster homes in Alberta before his 10th birthday and had been diagnosed as suffering from a personality disorder with antisocial, depressive and schizoid features. 8 years after their trial, Newstead was back in the news. This time it was for something positive. She received a degree in religion from Queen's University while an inmate at Kingston's Prison for Women, serving a second-degree murder term for her role in killing Robert Kehoe. That made her the first woman in Canada and the first inmate in an Ontario prison to earn an entire degree behind bars. Her area of study was Buddhism, which encourages followers to lead moral lives and to be aware of their thoughts and actions. And now it's starting to rain. Got to rush my birdie boys back inside if it rains. We've had a lovely time out in the garden though, haven't we, boys? It's been just lovely. Blessed be its sacred space and Titania's realm. I'm pointing to their corner. Blessed be my beautiful ones, the seen and the unseen. Just because I can't see them doesn't mean they're not here. I wonder if they ate their marshmallow. Something would have eaten it by now, surely. Anyway, in the biker world, club members are expected to ask permission to date other members' former girlfriends. That's what Campbell did before he began his relationship with a black-haired 17-year-old named Charmaine. Charmaine's family had moved to Oshawa from the Maritimes, and she was pretty and fun and hard-working and didn't seem to have an enemy in the world. Charmaine had dropped out of school but always managed to find a job. I met Charmaine in 1975. She had gone out with club member Larry Hurren, and I asked him if I could have her number. I saw that she was fun to be around. After we'd gone out a few times, I told her she was a breath of fresh air compared to the girls I had been with up until then. Campbell recalls with pride an evening with Charmaine and a friend and his date. The other woman clearly looked down her nose at Campbell and Charmaine. The conversation was already more than a little strained when the topic shifted to fantasies. "What's yours, Lorne?" the prissy woman asked. "My fantasy is to be in a room with 30 or 40 naked, beautiful women," he replied. "I don't want to be fucking them. I want to be rolling over them. I just want someone to take pictures of me so no one can say I'm a liar." I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cute. Of course, they'd have to all be consensual, you understand. And there's no sex, but still, having a man rolling all over you, Jesus. Well, it's a harmless enough fantasy. Campbell betrayed no trace of a smile as he pretended to confide his deep yearning. It took the prissy woman some effort to regain her composure. And then she asked Charmaine, "What's your fantasy?" "I just want to be one of those women," she deadpanned. The prissy woman had no clue how to react. Indeed. You see? Nothing like bikers taking the piss. It can be very, very, very funny. Right. Oh, I'm tempted to keep reading. How many pages is this one? The same. But no, we'll stick to, we've done 2 chapters today. We did 2 yesterday. We'll stick to the 2-chapter rule for the short ones, I think. Also, there's movement in the force and things coming up off my lungs, and I got to have a rest, people of Earth. I got to have a bit of a rest. Maybe some more mullein tea as well. By the gods. Anyway, and make my lovely chocolate brownie. Anyway, I bid you good afternoon, beautiful people, planet Earth, and wherever you are, stay cool till out of school. Stay free, stay wild, stay happy. Stay healthy if you can manage it, by the gods. Well, that's a bit of a task, and if you see some coked up little motherfucker that looks like they got an order bill and a Commonwealth Bank influx of fundage, tell him Mama T wants her money back ASAP, or you'll be snorting out the other side of your nose, motherfuckers. But they get away with it, don't they? This is the thing. They fucking get away with it. But one day, they'll meet the wrong person, and they won't get away with it. And I hope to be witness to that day. I'll just be standing there smiling. Finally got you in the end, motherfucker. But anyway, at the end of the day, I'll float along for a little bit longer because my pension comes in and got a lot of bills to go out, which is what I was holding on to that money for. So I really hate you, you motherfucker, whoever you are that did that. You're a scum, trash vermin, and I do hope you OD and die. I really do. I wish no good to you, because, you know, you wouldn't have just done that to me either. There'll be lots of people you hit up during the course of that evening, and it's just evil and low grade. Anyway, on a happy note, I've read my beautiful YouTube audience a story. I've sat with my birdies, I've cleaned their cages, I've coughed up a lung. I'm high functioning. I'm a high functioning mama today. I've still got to clean my fish pond too. Might do that soon while it's a little bit warmish. And it's all happening in a far out way, people of Earth. All happening. Success in our small little undertakings. Oh, Cookie's arrived with a little Indian minor bird right on his tail. They arrived together. How you going, Cookie? Mama T's got something nice for you. Yes, some chicken scraps. I'm just going to go and get that. I'll just say goodbye to the people. Bye, people. I'll go and spoil my wild boy. Bye for now.